It all starts at the absolute worst high school in the country, Dupel High, where the vibe is seriously heavy. In this place, the brawls never end, and since the doors opened, nobody has ever managed to rule it. At least that was the case until our MC Ri-Woo Jin enrolled as a sophomore. Standing like a total boss in front of a mountain of defeated students, he makes it clear that in this world, might makes right. The guy firmly believes there is absolutely nothing you can't get through pure strength. The scene quickly cuts to a computer screen showing a rejection email from a webtoon contest, letting him know he didn't make the cut. Sitting in the dark staring at the monitor, our boy is dead silent, processing the terrible news. Fuming with anger, he furiously clicks his mouse against the desk, cursing the whole ridiculous situation. Overwhelmed by frustration, the MC throws his glasses across the room and lets out a scream of pure outrage. Suddenly, his older sister's voice echoes from the hallway, calling him a knucklehead and asking if today wasn't the day the results came out. She peeks through the door, laughing at his face and saying he obviously failed, while the guy tells her to get lost. Totally ignoring him, his sister walks right in and grabs his tablet, betting he got the exact same feedback as always. Reading the review, she cracks up upon realizing his problem was stuffing way too many action scenes into a romance genre. With a mocking tone, she tells him he should have listened to her advice, asking why he insists on cramming beatdowns into a love story. Funnily enough, this invincible tough guy is actually an aspiring webtoon creator whose ultimate goal is to be a massive romance fanatic. Laughing at the whole mess, his sister admits that her little brother's total lack of social grace is partly her fault. She starts giving him quick little slaps on the cheek, asking what a guy who only knows how to throw punches could possibly know about romance, and if he thinks love is some kind of joke. Squeezing his cheeks, she teases him, wondering if his followers have any idea their big boss is actually a romance manga nerd. Out of patience, he firmly grabs her wrist and tells her to drop the act. Shooting her a menacing glare, the MC warns her not to push her luck. Winding up his fist, he asks if she really thinks he wouldn't have the guts to lay a hand on her. The girl dodges the attack with zero effort, making fun of his weak attempt. With terrifying skill, she hoists her brother into the air and hits him with a pro wrestling slam that makes him yelp in pain. Keeping him pinned in a chokehold, she asks if hanging out at that garbage dump of a school turned him into a delinquent, acting all rebellious just because he hasn't been humbled in a while. The beatdown continues as she locks him in several submission holds, while the guy grumbles indignantly on the floor. Pressing his face into the carpet, she warns him that if they didn't share the same blood, things would be a whole lot worse for him. After making the power gap crystal clear, she orders the boy to go fetch her some food. A little while later, the empty plates on the table show that mealtime is already over. Happily stuffing her face with dessert, the girl talks about how much she loves a good sugar rush, while her brother calls her a pig. The MC ends up paying the pretty expensive bill and swears he's going to get back at her one day. The guy is back on the couch, looking bored out of his mind. Glancing at the TV, he notices his sister is watching Titanic again and asks if she ever gets sick of it. Sitting next to her, he ends up agreeing that a true masterpiece is worth watching over and over. Pondering the word masterpiece, he zones out in thought for a second. Out of curiosity, he asks the girl what actually makes a romance story truly great. Thinking for a bit, she explains the secret is how the story captures the sweetness between the main leads. He immediately claps back, saying he already does that perfectly. Annoyed, she brings up a scene from his comic where the main couple just starts throwing hands out of nowhere, pointing out how little sense that makes. Trying to be helpful, she suggests he look for inspiration in his own life, like at his school, for example. The MC then starts picturing the front of his high school. Remembering the hallways packed with sweaty dudes brawling, it dawns on him that he goes to an all-boys school. His sister grabs him by the shoulders, saying that's exactly the problem with trying to write a bromance. While he desperately denies it, he starts to realize his school is a total zoo, and the fact that it's all guys just makes it 10 times worse. In his head, he pictures a student getting dropkicked out a window, proving that literally all they do there is fight. Another mental image shows a massive free-for-all, making it obvious that everyone's only bonding activity is throwing fists. Even the teachers are terrifying and constantly walk around with an intimidating aura. In his flashback, a teacher rips his own shirt off, challenging the students to a brawl right in the middle of midterms. His sister starts yelling again, claiming that's exactly why he forces action into everything, because he has zero romance in his actual life. Sitting on the bed, she points out that the fact he doesn't know how amazing love is just makes him even more pathetic. Scratching his chin, our boy agrees she has a point, starting to think his environment is the real villain here. In his imagination, he pictures what it would be like to transfer to a normal co-ed school, filled with uniform dates and love letters hidden in desks. Springing into action, he stands up and announces he's made a decision. With total confidence, he blurts out of nowhere that he's transferring schools, leaving his sister completely shocked. She agrees that getting out of that nightmare school is a great idea, but quickly brings up a major issue. Asking about the school's rules, she wonders if he actually knows how the exit process works. The MC confirms he knows Duple's rules, explaining it's a place that never forgives anyone who runs from the battlefield. The panel shows a gloomy classroom with a teacher waiting in the dark. It becomes crystal clear that anyone who tries to run away is hunted down and forced to pay the price for their betrayal. Looking out the window, he mentions there is only one single way to leave Duple with your honor intact. Walking down the halls, he explains you just have to prove you aren't leaving because you're weak. Cracking his blood-stained knuckles, he calmly states it's really no big deal. Standing triumphantly on top of a mountain of knocked-out bodies, he reveals the rule is simply to defeat all 500 students in the school. One of the defeated guys on the ground can barely breathe as he calls out the MC's name. Freshman Masuho grabs our guy's shirt, desperately asking why he's doing this. With a distant look, our MC apologizes and says the school simply can't give him what he wants. Shocked, the fallen kid assumes he's going after a new rival or planning to conquer the entire country. The guy insists he's dead serious about the school not having what he needs, while the freshman screams that there is nothing Duple doesn't have. Begging the boss to stay, Ho pleads for him to just name what he wants so they can bring it to him. With a totally straight face, the MC replies that he needs romance material. Hearing that answer, the freshman is left completely paralyzed, having absolutely no idea what that means. A few days later, the scene shifts to Danyang High, where our boy finally bids farewell to his past. In the classroom, the teacher announces to the class that they're getting a transfer student today. The MC walks in looking sharp but carrying only a single notebook, making the students wonder if he's some kind of delinquent. Taking a deep breath with a smile on his face, he appreciates finally being in a co-ed school. He finds the atmosphere super refreshing, noticing that unlike Duple, it doesn't smell like cheap cigarettes in here. Gripping his notebook tightly, he is absolutely certain this is the start of a brand new story. Pen in hand, the guy writes furiously in his notebook, jotting down that co-ed classrooms do not smell like smoke. He's so hyped that he literally jams the pen into the paper, declaring this the ultimate environment for romance. A creepy little laugh escapes him as he celebrates finding prime material right out of the gate. Right after, the teacher lets him know that if he's too shy to introduce himself, he can do it for him. Faced with that, the guy wonders what he should say, since it's his first time transferring, and decides to just act how he normally does. The MC shoots a glaring look and a dark smirk, greeting the class by calling them all punks. Instantly, the students panic, screaming that a total psycho just arrived and is already trying to establish dominance. In the back, a blonde kid doesn't get what the deal is, while a silver-haired guy gets annoyed by the 90s bully attitude, telling him to go to the teacher's lounge. Amid the chaos, one of the guys turns to his silver-haired buddy and asks what they should do about the new kid. The guy named Yahello flashes a smirk and just notes that the transfer is definitely trying way too hard to look tough. The cafeteria is soon buzzing with students gossiping about the MC. One of the girls even notices an empty seat right across from him and suggests they sit there. But as soon as they realize who the new kid is, they nope right out of there and decide to find another spot. The MC chooses food alone with a heavy aura, realizing everyone thinks he's a freak and some kind of old school thug. Totally bummed out with his head down, he figures he can kiss his romance material goodbye. Completely isolated in the cafeteria, the guy starts panicking when he realizes absolutely no one is talking to him. Slumped against the table, he wonders if he did something wrong, remembering he needs to conduct interviews to gather his romantic data. Suddenly, a blonde girl taps his shoulder to get his attention, complimenting him by saying he looks even better up close. Caught off guard, he listens as she explains she heard the rumors and got curious to see what he was really like. Totally confused, the guy repeats the word rumors, with a blank look on his face. With a sweet smile, she reveals the general consensus was that he's super handsome, introducing herself as Yumi Nai, a sophomore. Faced with such beauty, our MC freezes, his eyes practically sparkling, feeling his chest flutter. He wonders why his heart is racing while the girl offers to give him a tour of the school. She blushes a little and asks him not to think it's weird, confessing she just wanted to get a bit closer to him. Totally blown away by the situation, the former tough guy feels his heart pounding and is absolutely sure of what's happening. He clasps his hands together in anticipation, wondering in awe if this is finally the legendary romance material he's been dreaming of. The tour kicks off with the two of them walking side by side through the large school courtyard. The blonde leads the new kid along the path, explaining that heading down that way would take them to the music room. She then points excitedly ahead, showing that going that way leads to the PE storage room. Way too focused on scribbling in his notebook, the guy just hums in agreement, making the girl ask if he's actually paying attention. He plays it off, saying yes and guessing it must be the way to the nurse's office, all while writing down that the heroine's non-stop chatter is perfect for building intimacy. The girl sighs and says the tour basically ends there, leaving only the storage room, which is in a spot barely anyone walks by. She then casually mentions she heard couples really love using that hidden space, leaving the guy paralyzed with shock. With his eyes wide open and a frozen expression, he asks her to repeat what she just said. Mai now realizes what slipped out and gets super flustered, waving her hands and begging him to pretend he didn't hear that. The MC sprints at top speed toward the building, yelling that he actually insists on hearing every single detail. Left in the dust, the blonde blinks in confusion, watching the guy vanish from her sight in the blink of an eye. The guy rums like an absolute maniac, repeating the intel about couples using the storage room with a crazed smile on his face. Hyped out of his mind by the discovery, he concludes that a co-ed school's storage room is on a whole other level, and his romantic instincts start screaming. He finally reaches his destination and slides the door open with all the force and eagerness in the world. He steps inside clutching his notepad, absolutely certain he's about to strike gold with some incredible romance material in there. Meanwhile, the scene cuts back to his old school, where the classroom delinquents are talking about how Ryu Jin actually left after all. The long-haired guy brings up the rule about having to crush every single student to leave Dupal, stating it was basically a pair of handcuffs disguised as a tradition. Sitting in his chair, the blonde guy admits he never thought anyone would actually break that rule head on just to become a romance creator, calling our MC an absolute legend. Chuckling, another buddy agrees with him, confirming the former boss really did transfer to a normal high school. Back at the old school, the guy admits he's a little worried some idiots might try to mess with their buddy in his new environment. But after thinking it over for a second, his expression completely flips. With a dark smirk, he laughs at his own concern, wondering who on earth would be dumb enough to mess with Ryu Jin. Back at the co-ed school, the reality of the storage room turns out to be way different than expected, showing the silver-haired Ji-ho standing there looking cold as ice. Instead of a pair of star-crossed lovers, the place is packed with thugs beating down and bullying other kids on the floor. A quick flashback shows Ji-ho ordering Ming-Nai to lure the transfer student to the storage room, explaining that if they just called him out, the new kid would run. At the time, the blonde tried to back out, giving a nervous smile and claiming she had nothing to do with the new guy. With zero patience, the bully punched the wall right next to her face, making the girl shrink back in terror. The silver-haired punk yanked her hair hard, threatening her and reminding her exactly who lets her and her brother attend this school in peace. Shooting her a lethal glare, he warned her that if she didn't want to get hurt, she'd better just follow orders. Snapping back to the present, it's obvious that, driven by fear, the girl really did lead the transfer student right into a trap. Guilt hits her hard as she looks down the hallway, thinking that deep down, the MC doesn't seem like a bad guy. That thought quickly fades when she hears him let out a maniacal laugh while clutching his little notebook, proving he is, at the very least, a massive weirdo. The blonde breaks into a cold sweat as the severity of the situation sinks in, realizing she's basically an accomplice to a brutal school bullying incident. She tries to justify it by thinking about her social media accounts, reasoning that she isn't smart and her looks are her only tool to make a living. Picturing herself as a successful influencer, she dreads that if a bullying scandal leaks in the future, her life will be over. Terrified by the image of her career flushing down the drain, she starts to panic. But then Ji-ho's threatening face flashes back into her mind, reminding her of the blackmail involving her little brother. She clenches her fists tightly, silently apologizing to her little bro for making this call. The truth finally bursts out, and with her eyes squeezed shut, she screams an apology, telling the new kid to just request a transfer and run away. The problem is, our MC totally ignores the warning and is already eagerly sliding into the storage room. The blonde opens her eyes in shock, realizing the guy marched right in without a second of hesitation. She watches the door slide shut while screaming for him to wait, trying to warn him of the danger inside. Left standing outside, she remembers that the school's most violent gang is fully assembled in that room. Silence washes over the girl as she stands frozen, processing the impending tragedy and her own heavy guilt. In her head, she's already visualizing her career being nuked by hate comments and having to hold press conferences begging for public forgiveness. Overcome with the desperate need to save her future, she throws herself into the storage room, screaming at the top of her lungs. Inside, one of Ji-ho's goons is already throwing a straight punch with a nasty smirk on his face. The sound of a heavy impact echoes through the air, but the attack is effortlessly blocked by the MC's arm. Stunned that his punch did absolutely nothing, the thug freezes, failing to compute how his strength was stopped so easily. Our MC ends up dropping to his knees on the floor after being surrounded. Immediately, a bunch of students start kicking and stomping on the guy, while one of them laughs, asking what the new kid's deal is and calling him super weak. Watching the scene, one of the goons points out that for all the attention the guy drew to himself, he couldn't even land a single hit. Sitting in the back, the leader Kang Ji-ho stays dead silent, just watching the beatdown unfold. With a suspicious glare, the silver-haired boss realizes something very weird is going on here. He thinks to himself that when people gang up to stomp someone like this, it usually follows a specific pattern. He notes that some victims beg for mercy before the first punch is even thrown. On the flip side, there are the ones who go completely feral, trying to protect their pride until the bitter end. But the new kid doesn't fit either category. He's just mumbling absolute nonsense with his head down, tossed on the ground and getting bruised up. The MC grumbles that the girl promised there'd be romance here, but he ended up stumbling into a bromance instead. Not understanding a single word, Jiho gets ticked off, asking what the heck bromance is even supposed to mean right now. The kicks keep raining down on the guy while he comforts himself by thinking that, technically, he already has a girlfriend. During his hunt for romance material and falling straight into his own trap, Ryu Jin finally realizes something super important. With his face pressed into the dirt, he concludes that this is just a normal greeting, duple high style. Finally understanding why the kids were avoiding him earlier, the guy figures that if he fights back now, it'll only make things worse, believing that if he just takes the beating quietly, this whole misunderstanding will blow over. Relieved, the boy thinks everything is fine since he tucked his notebook safely under his clothes, making sure the item is secure. That illusion shatters instantly when one of the attackers holds up the red notebook, showing it fell out of his shirt, and Gi, who orders them to hand it over. The silver-haired boss inspects his new prize, reading the WAF material notes, title and noticing it looks brand new. Reading the contents out loud, he quotes the parts about id schools not smelling like smoke and the heroine giving a perfect tour to build intimacy, leaving him utterly baffled. One of the thugs starts laughing, asking if this is about Manhwa and commenting that the new kid has some seriously creepy hobbies. Emitting a dark aura, the MC lifts his head and demands they give the notebook back, catching the leader off guard. With a mocking tone, the silver-haired guy tells him to say please, and the MC instantly obeys, making the goons crack up at his total lack of pride. Toying with the notebook, Jiho points out that for someone who is taking a beating so quietly, he sure started talking back real quick, proving this thing must be super important. The former boss slowly gets to his feet, agreeing with that statement, and tells them they can beat him until they're exhausted if they want. Flashing a death glare, he makes it crystal clear that the only condition is they return the notebook right this second. The scene cuts to a rooftop at sunset, where two students are chatting. A blonde kid asks if his buddy fought Jin in the past, and the redhead confirms it, admitting the MC absolutely mopped the floor with his face. Curious, the blonde mentions that the senior is also crazy strong and asks what the experience was like, making his friend remember that right here was exactly where he met the monster. The memory flashes back to the time the redhead had just transferred to the school. Back then, he found the MC sitting alone, totally focused on writing something in a notebook. The blonde assumes the notebook was a hit list, which would totally fit Jin, but in reality, the pages showed sketches of romance scenes, noting that cracking a wall demonstrates more affection. Recalling the past, the redhead explains he just snatched the thing right out of the guy's hands and chucked it away, purely because he wanted to start a fight. Super curious, his friend asks what happened next, but the senior casually replies he has absolutely no idea. Bothered by that answer, the blonde insists it was only a year ago and tells him to try harder to remember, while the redhead swears his brain literally deleted the memory. Suddenly, the senior's eyes go wide as he finally manages to recover that missing fragment of the day. The redhead reveals that by the time he finally regained consciousness, a whole day had already passed, and he was completely covered in blood after getting utterly destroyed. Snapping back to the present inside the storage room, the MC glares at the leader's back and states he's giving him one final warning. Holding a menacing stance, he demands the silver-haired punk hand over the notebook right now. Not taking the threat seriously at all, Jiho smirks and tells the new kid to stop acting so dramatic. The leader raises his arm, pretending he's going to toss it back, but in one swift motion, he rips the notebook straight down the middle. The villain flashes a sadistic grin as he continues tearing the pages to shreds under the MC's horrified gaze. With scraps of paper fluttering through the air, the silver-haired boss tells the guy to pick up his own trash off the floor. The gang leader bursts into hysterical laughter, looking like he's having the time of his life humiliating the transfer student. Behind him, one of his goons laughs and comments that if the new kid had just kept begging, maybe the boss wouldn't have shredded his notes. Without uttering another word, the MC launches himself at the group with terrifying speed. One of the thugs steps in his way with a cocky grin, asking where he thinks he's going, and warning him the fun isn't over yet. The MC doesn't even change his expression, keeping a dead, cold stare locked on his target. Wasting no time, the former boss throws a devastating punch that connects squarely with the attacker's face, completely warping his cheek. The brutal impact sends the goon flying backward, spitting blood into the air. The guy's body sails across the room, violently crashing into the furniture and knocking him out cold. Watching this, the silver-haired leader drops his smile and mutters in pure shock, completely failing to process what just happened. The rest of the gang panics, seeing their buddy get shot into a coma, thinking this has to be some kind of sick joke. Furious, another goon grabs the MC from behind, yelling that there's no way one of them just got dropped by a weak little newbie. Our guy just turns his head, shooting a lethal glare at the punk holding him. With a slick move, he breaks free and delivers a savage elbow right to the attacker's face. The thug stumbles back groaning in pain, his nose completely crushed by the hit. Whining that his nose is broken, the goon backs away as the rest of the crew starts to panic, having no clue what to do next. Ignoring the chaos, the former boss buries his fist into another student's gut, making him fold in half. A relentless flurry of lightning, fast strike starts dropping gang members left and right, while the MC mutters that this is barely a warm-up. Desperate, the last goon standing throws a clumsy punch, calling the guy a psycho and begging him to stop. With effortless grace, the new kid just leans to the side, cleanly dodging the attack. In the blink of an eye, he grabs the guy by the collar and violently jerks him closer. The thug stammers out a pathetic apology, telling him to calm down, but playtime is officially over. The MC delivers a monstrous headbutt that instantly turns the guy's lights out, dropping him to the floor. The camera pulls back, showing the entire storage room littered with knocked out bodies, leaving only the MC standing and the silver-haired boss sitting in the back. Realizing he's in serious danger, the gang leader's face hardens as he pulls out a metal baseball bat, dragging it across the floor. Near the new kid's feet, one of the defeated thugs reaches out, trying to crawl away from the nightmare. Without a second of hesitation, the MC stomps hard on the guy's back, pinning him to the ground. Crushed against the floor, the guy lets out a muffled groan, completely out of fight. Gripping his bat tight, the leader slowly stands up, wondering to himself if this transfer is some kind of actual lunatic. Trying to keep up his boss persona, the silver-haired punk calls out to the kid to kick off the final showdown. The former boss gives his arm a quick flick, shaking his enemy's blood off his hand. With a cocky smirk, Jaeho tells the newbie he should know when to quit, asking who gave him permission to play the hidden badass. Before the silver-haired guy can even finish his sentence, the MC vanishes and instantly reappears mere inches from his face. The gang leader's eyes bug out, and he lets out a noise of pure terror, realizing the power gap between them is an absolute canyon. Stunned, the punk wonders who the heck this guy is, noticing the new kid took a direct hit from a metal bat without even blinking. The panel shows the metal bat connecting with the MC's arm, and the leader notices a terrifying detail. Looking closer, Jaeho sees the baseball bat is completely dented from slamming into the guy's body. Instead of wincing in pain, the newbie mutters his third romantic note, stating that in co-ed schools, cowards bring weapons to a fistfight. With a dark smile, the former boss thanks him, saying he finally scored some amazing material, while the silver-haired thug sweats buckets of sheer panic. Laughing like a total maniac with blood on his face, he admits he's seriously glad he transferred to this school. Before the leader can even react, the MC steps to him again, making the punk panic and beg him to wait. Desperate, Jaeho suggests they talk it out, promising to apologize for hitting him, but the new kid asks what exactly he needs to apologize for. The villain gets even more confused when the newbie agrees that guys fight like this all the time, asking why he's acting so mad. The MC winds up his fist, his expression turning deadly, and warns that he simply does not forgive anyone who messes with his precious romance material. Rattled, the silver-haired guy backs away, asking if this is seriously all over a garbage notebook. The leader tries to argue that the kid had only written on a single page anyway, making the whole situation even more ridiculous. Outside, the blonde Yumai Nai is leaning against the wall, regretting her life choices and wondering if she should just start studying since her influencer career is officially cooked. In her head, she considers dropping to her knees to beg the transfer student not to press charges with the cops under any circumstances. Suddenly, a body comes flying through the sliding door, shattering it and making the girl let out a terrified scream. Absolutely stunned, she realizes the guy who just got launched through the air is none other than Kang Ji-ho himself. The MC slowly walks out of the dust cloud, his face covered in blood, and asks in a super creepy tone if they can chat for a bit. The blonde shrieks in terror and curls up on the ground, remembering the line from his notes that said, "I'm disappointed in you," which only makes things 10 times worse. Stepping closer, the guy quotes another romance cliché, saying she lied to him and asking how she could do this to him. Mina's panic hits its absolute peak as she takes in the state the guy is in and realizes exactly what he just did in there. Peeking through the wrecked doorway, the girl sees Jaeho's entire gang laid out on the floor, wondering if he really wiped them all out by himself. Figuring he must be some top boss from another school, she assumes she's next on the hit list and is about to get a legendary beatdown. Shaking and holding back tears, she gulps hard, bracing herself for the punishment she deserves. However, the guy just lets out a frustrated groan, catching her attention as he complains that his own face looks terrible. Grabbing the crying girl's shoulder, He yells in outrage that he didn't manage to score even a single drop of romance material from this. The camera pans to the side of the building as their conversation continues outside the storage room. The blonde blinks in confusion, trying to process his little meltdown and wondering why he's so mad after just taking out the school's worst bullies. She stammers, confessing she doesn't get what he means, considering he literally just beat everyone single-handedly. The former boss points at her desperately, reminding her that she was the one who said couples hung out here all the time. He complains that he was so pumped to see how a co-ed school's storage room would be different, only to find out it was just a regular old fight club. Even more confused, Mai Ni stutters and reminds him that those guys lured him there specifically to jump him, asking if he isn't even a little pissed about that. The guy gives her a deadpan look and replies that this kind of stuff happens all the time, mockingly asking what kind of sheltered life she's been living. Glancing at the knocked-out leader, he admits he did get a bit mad since the dude ripped his precious notebook. His dark aura returns for a split second as he mutters that maybe he should just end the guy right there, which makes the girl scream again. Realizing how bad things are getting, she tries to calm him down, suggesting he just needs a new notebook and promising she happens to have a brand new one stashed away. Instantly, the girl pulls a massive pink, heart-patterned notebook out of her bag, swearing it will solve all his problems. Holding the item out with a forced smile, she prays this will be enough to soothe the raging monster in front of her. With blinding speed, the guy snatches the notebook from her hands with a sharp movement that totally startles her. Staring at the heart-covered book, he is absolutely mesmerized by his new loot, instantly erasing any trace of his previous fury. Relieved, the girl chuckles nervously, agreeing it's a bit flashy and promising to bring him a much cooler one tomorrow, but he isn't even listening. Holding the notebook up to the sky, the MC bellows that it's insanely romantic, while the girl is just shocked by how much he actually loves it. Taking advantage of his good mood, Mina suggests they head straight to the nurse's office to treat those nasty wounds, and he agrees, running ahead in tears of joy, holding his notebook high. Walking down the school halls, the girl finally processes what's going on, asking if his real goal is honestly just to become a romance webtoon creator. Mind blown, she realizes he literally transferred schools just to hunt for plot material, wondering if this dude is totally insane. Frustrated, our MC complains that it doesn't matter anymore, since he already ruined everything on day one, and now nobody will want to talk to him, making interviews impossible. Noticing how bummed out he is, Minai asks if he wants her help setting up that romance material for him. Surprised, he brushes back his blood-soaked bangs and asks if she's seriously offering to help out. Winking confidently, the blonde states that she might not look it, but she became the student council vice president purely off her massive popularity, promising to introduce him to every couple in the school. The former boss's face completely lights up, and he thanks her, saying if she does that, he will be eternally grateful. While she smiles, the girl's calculating brain hatches the perfect plan, concluding that he's actually a decent guy, and if she makes him owe her one, he can never claim she was part of the bullying crew. With that settled, she insists again that they hustle to the clinic to fix up his face, and he happily tags along, super eager for the introductions. The second they reach the clinic doors, they hear a massive commotion going on inside. Through the open doorway, a redhead guy shoves past the blonde and the MC, apologizing and saying he's cutting in line while carrying someone in his arms. Our MC's eyes light up, and his romantic imagination kicks into overdrive as he locks onto the scene unfolding right in front of him. Down the hall, the redhead is carrying a girl princess style, frantically yelling at the nurse that his friend Jin hurt her ankle. Inside, the nurse lets out a bored sigh and tells the boy he's back again. She tells the student to quit making a scene and to put the girl down in a chair right now, which he instantly does. Only then does the woman notice the MC's completely wrecked, bleeding face standing next to the blonde, asking if they're injured too. Recognizing Mina, she asks the two of them to wait a second while she finishes wrapping up the girl's ankle. The scene cuts to our MC, frozen in absolute shock, internally screaming that he can't believe what he's seeing. With a terrifyingly ecstatic face and bug-out eyes, the guy swears he is so freaking happy he transferred to Danyang High and knows he made the right call. The nurse finishes the bandage, slapping a pain patch on the girl's heel and assuring her she'll be fine soon. The redhead, still anxious, asks if she's absolutely sure the girl will be okay, or if they should rush to the ER, but the woman tells him it's just a minor sprain. Relieved, the girl named Jin thanks her friend Seo Jun with a sweet look, mentioning that thanks to him, she got treated super fast. With a confident smile, the guy reassures her, reminding her he promised to protect her, and he's just keeping his word. In our MC's imagination, the whole scene morphs into a cliché romantic date, with the two sharing loving gazes, wrapping up with a passionate kiss. His fantasy suddenly snaps with a hard cut to a close-up of the couple's faces right before the kiss, and the MC's voice booming through the room, telling them to hurry up and do it already. Snapped out of the moment, the the terrified redhead yells that the two of them are being way too loud, asking if the new kid smashed his head against a wall since there's blood everywhere. The blonde chuckles nervously, trying to smooth things over by introducing the newcomer, explaining he just joined their class today. Recognizing her classmate, the injured girl points out that he's the guy who asked who was boss earlier. The redhead calls him an old school thug, but the blonde swears it's all just a huge misunderstanding. The redhead isn't buying that story for a second, arguing that the new kid's face screams delinquent from every pore, and asks if he only transferred to join the Bakia Ho gang. The MC shakes his head, lowering his blood-soaked face, and mutters the names of the two students. In a low, menacing voice, he claims he only transferred because he wanted to meet talented people like them, leaving the girl totally bewildered by the weird compliment. Already fed up, the redhead clenches his fist and sighs, thinking he's getting tangled up with street trash again, and tells the new kid to leave him alone. Ignoring him completely, our MC tilts his head at a deeply disturbing angle and, with pitch black eyes, demands to know exactly how long the two of them have been dating. The couple falls dead silent for a second, staring at the new kid's horrifying face. Then, they both turn bright red and break into a nervous sweat at the totally out of pocket question. The redhead points to his own face, yelling in shock, asking if the new guy actually thinks they're dating, while the girl awkwardly laughs, echoing the exact same thought. Rubbing the back of his neck, the guy laughs awkwardly, explaining they've just been childhood friends since they were kids. Meanwhile, our MC thinks to himself that he could really use a smoke right now. The blonde Naya leans in, whispering to the MC that they aren't dating, but explains they're pretty much the most famous, would they won't they, couple in the whole school. She claims anyone with eyes can tell they like each other, but those two just keep insisting there's nothing going on. In front of them, the couple keeps over, laughing, and the redhead argues they've known each other so long he doesn't even see her as a girl. The girl drops her gaze, clearly a bit hurt, and quietly asks if he really doesn't see her as a woman. Hearing that, the redhead flinches, and a sudden bolt of awkward tension strikes between them. He starts stuttering, claiming that's not what he meant at all, while the MC just watches the whole train wreck with a deeply bored expression. The blonde pats the former boss on the shoulder, confirming this duo is prime romance material, and the guy agrees, blushing as he admits their cute dynamic is literally killing him inside. For the very first time, the new kid actually cries tears of joy, thanking Mai Nei and calling her an incredible person, then asks if he should schedule an interview with the couple for after school. But suddenly, the clinic doors burst open, and a student asks if Moon Seo Jun is in there. The guy who walks in has short, spiky hair and a built physique. He's identified as Choi Jin Ho, a senior, and he's here to drag the redhead out to play soccer. The senior smiles when he spots the girl and says hi, but she just lowers her head in a quiet, uneasy greeting. The redhead stammers, trying to explain that Yi Jin just got hurt, so he should probably stay with her. The senior's smile vanishes instantly, and his face twists into a terrifying, authoritative glare, ordering the redhead to hurry up and get moving. Totally intimidated, Seo Jun gulps, feeling the crushing pressure in the room. The injured girl offers a weak smile, trying to comfort the redhead by saying she's fine, and can just go with Mina if she needs to. Out of options, the boy agrees, saying he'll text her later, and slowly backs away. Laughing cynically, the senior throws an arm around the redhead's neck, joking that the kid is an idiot because he can't play soccer without him. They start walking out, talking about the game, while the girl stares at the floor, visibly upset by the whole thing. All of a sudden, the MC shoots up with his pink notebook in hand and lets out a loud protest right in the middle of the room. Everyone's attention snaps to the new kid as he accuses the senior of cutting in line, sending the redhead and the blonde into sheer panic. Keeping a dead serious face, he argues that Seo Jun had already agreed to do an interview with him, and it wasn't fair for this other guy to just crash his plans. The big guy raises an eyebrow in confusion, asking who the heck this dude is, while the redhead desperately tries to hold the senior back, begging him to just let it go. Our former boss rolls his eyes, locking onto the senior without showing even a single ounce of fear. Ticked off by the disrespect, the third-year brute steps menacingly toward the new kid, asking what he just said. The MC holds his ground defiantly, staring the senior dead in the eye without blinking once. A thick silence fills the room, with neither of them backing down or looking away for a second. Spitting his words, the furious senior asks if the punk has a death wish. Frantic, the redhead jumps between them, waving his hands and explaining that the new kid smashed his head earlier and isn't thinking straight. He pleads that the guy literally just transferred here today and doesn't know how things work around here yet. With a hardened glare, the giant ignores the excuses and just tells the redhead to hurry up and follow him. Sitting at her desk, the nurse takes a sip of coffee and backs up the redhead, sarcastically asking if the senior can't see the massive bandage on the kid's head, confirming he's obviously out of his mind. The scene cuts to the clinic's table, showing bloody gauze and medical supplies that prove the guy really got wrecked. The senior finally backs off, looking away but still boiling with barely contained rage. The giant and the redhead turn around and start heading out the clinic door. Right before disappearing, the senior glances back and warns the transfer student to watch his back, because if he catches him again, he's dead meat. Completely ignoring the death threat, the MC mutters that the big guy looks perfectly fine to him. In a fit of blind stubbornness, our former boss yells and steps forward again, insisting there's absolutely no line, cutting on his watch. The blonde and the injured girl go into full panic mode, tackling the MC from behind and clapping their hands over his mouth before he causes a total disaster. The guy thrashes around, trying to mumble through their hands, while they sweat bullets, holding him back with everything they've got. As soon as the two guys are gone, the girls let him go. He takes a deep breath and angrily asks them what the heck they think they're doing. The injured girl scolds him with a dead serious tone, making it crystal clear that he just dodged a massive bullet. The short-haired girl explains that since he just transferred, he probably has no idea, but warns him that the guy is seriously dangerous. She drops the brute's name Choi Jin-ho, with an image showing him laughing menacingly. The girl points outside, letting him know that he's a core member of the Baekya Ho. Shivering a little, the blonde explains that they're the local crew that basically runs this whole area, and they are absolute monsters. Manhwa continues, saying the rumors claim the Baekya Ho is actually tied to real, organized crime syndicates. The MC scrunches his face in confusion, pointing out that the dude just looks like your average street thug. The short-haired girl agrees, but brings up the real issue, wondering what her friend actually has to do with any of this. The blonde shrugs and explains that Seo Jun only hangs out with that crew because he's incredibly good at soccer, which sparks a cruel doubt in the new kid's mind. The former boss gets riled up and furiously scribbles in his pink notebook, yelling to ask if being good at soccer actually makes a guy popular in co-ed schools. Suddenly, the pink notebook snaps in half from his furious grip, as he realizes the redhead would rather play soccer with the boys than hang out with girls, which completely ruins his script. The nurse chimes in again while tossing something in the trash, mentioning she remembers a kid last year who was training to be a pro soccer player. She explains that the kid pulled off an embarrassing move against the senior Jin-ho, nutmegging him right on the field. A tense close-up panel shows the exact moment of that athletic humiliation on the school grounds. Right after the match, the furious senior simply shattered the promising kid's leg without a shred of mercy. The woman states that the student's dreams were crushed forever, and Jin-ho's only punishment was a pathetic 1-week suspension. Sitting with her head down, the girl sighs, suspecting that whoever has his back must have a lot of power in the school. Looking out the window, the blonde says she can't comprehend how a guy like that hasn't been expelled yet. The new kid's face drops into a dark scowl as he processes all this ridiculous information. The scene shifts to the school rooftop under a clear sky. In his notebook, the guy draws the couple with a triangle next to the brute, cursing in frustration that the romance story he's trying to craft can't progress because of that jerk. Punching the notepad, he wonders who that guy thinks he is, acting like some second male lead just to mess up his script. He thinks to himself that it'd be super easy to just remove Choi Jin-ho from the equation for the sake of the romance, but wonders if it's a good idea for the author to personally intervene in the plot. Sighing into the wind, he leans against the railing, figuring this must be the legendary pain of artistic creation. The boy remembers he left his old school just to stimulate his romance cells, but bitterly concludes that this co-ed school is infected with cancer cells that kill romance too. Spotting the redhead down in the courtyard, the new kid decides that a little spring cleaning might be necessary for his master plan to work. Down on the ground floor, Senior Jin-ho is smoking and casually offers a cigarette to the redhead. The guy declines with a nervous smile, reminding him the senior knows very well he doesn't smoke, and Jin-ho just smirks, changing the subject. The big guy casually asks why he called the redhead out here, bringing up the rumor that he's super tight with Shin Yi-jin and asking if they're dating. Seo Jun denies it instantly, laughing and insisting there's nothing going on, then asks the older guy to just be straight about why they're talking. With a cynical tone, the senior double-checks if they really aren't an item, and upon hearing the denial, flashes a wicked grin, declaring that this is absolutely perfect. Flashing a sleazy look, the senior mentions his house will be empty tonight and tells the redhead to bring the girl over so they can all drink together. Smiling, Jin-ho states that Yi-jin is totally his type, but admits that if his precious junior had already claimed her, he wouldn't touch her. The brute pats Seo Jun on the shoulder, urging him to call her right now if she's free. The redhead steps back nervously, making an excuse that his friend has been super busy with prep school lately. However, the senior's expression drops into a terrifying, intimidating glare, ordering him to call her right this second. Radiating a dark aura, the giant reminds Seo Jun he just said he didn't like her, asking if there's going to be a problem here. Gulping hard, the redhead lowers his head and mutters a weak, "No, sir." The scene cuts to Yi, Jin's phone ringing, showing an incoming call from her best friend, which surprises her. Walking down the street with the blonde, the girl answers cheerfully, asking where he is and letting him know the prep school teacher is arriving soon. On the other end of the line, the redhead says he'll be right there, calling her name with a shaky voice. Hearing the boy's proposal, she gets startled and asks why on earth they would go to Jin-ho's house. Forcing a tight smile, the redhead tries to justify the invite, arguing that the senior has always been cool to them despite what people say. The girl sighs with the phone to her ear, clearly not buying it, while the redhead insists they'd only drop by for a quick hello. Even though she's hesitant, Jin ends up agreeing to swing by his place after her prep class. Instantly, the redhead tells his friend to just fake drinking and leave early, since Jin, who himself would be pouring the drinks. The girl thinks the request is super awkward and doesn't get why he's suddenly asking her to do this. Flashing a cocky, smug smile, the senior brags that he's going to set the perfect mood for them to chat, claiming he hooks plenty of girls with this exact method. Behind him, the redhead squeezes his eyes shut, gripping his phone with a look of deep sorrow and absolute frustration at his own helplessness. In that moment, memories from the past flood the boy's mind. The flashback shows a tiny Jin and Jun, inseparable best friends, chatting in a sunny playground. The girl called out to her dad with a beaming smile, while he happily played with the kids, thanking the little redhead for taking care of his princess. Jin's dad ruffled the boy's hair with a laugh, revealing that his daughter was always bragging about how he always helped her out. With a warm tone, the man said he'd be counting on little Jun to look out for her from now on. The flashback abruptly cuts to the girl's father's funeral, showing his portrait on an altar surrounded by flowers. The little redhead listened to the adults gossiping about how the drunk driver who caused the crash came from a rich family, so the media just swept it under the rug. Standing alone in the corner, the boy felt utterly powerless, letting out a heavy sigh as he listened to his friend's desperate weeping. Jin sobbed uncontrollably, sitting on the floor and mourning, while the little redhead clenched his tiny fists. Filled with determination, little Jun swore he would protect his friend and take care of her through such a devastating tragedy. Staring dead at her family's altar, the boy made a silent promise that he would do absolutely anything for her. Right in front of her dad's picture, the young kid vowed that no matter what happened, he would definitely protect her forever. Back in the present, the redhead stays dead silent on the phone while the girl calls out to him, worried by the lack of response. Losing patience and smelling trouble, the senior starts stomping over, asking why the redhead suddenly went quiet. In the background, the brute drops a toxic comment about the rumors that the girl's dad is dead, causing the redhead to completely freeze. With a sick grin, the giant laughs, revealing he's hooked up with fatherless girls before, explaining you just have to act a little nice, and they'll throw themselves at your feet. That disgusting comment ignites pure rage in the boy, who can't hold back anymore. Driven by pure fury, the redhead spins around and blasts an explosive straight punch right into the senior's jaw. The impact sends the phone flying out of the boy's hand, clattering against the ground while the line is still connected. The guy's gaze is now radiating pure hatred as he demands to know what the heck the senior just said. Across the street, the blonde and our former boss arrive just in time to witness the clash. Our MC, clutching his pink notebook, can't believe what his eyes are seeing. A wicked smirk spreads across the brute's face as he wipes the blood dripping from his mouth. Thrilled to finally have an excuse, the senior says this is exactly what he's been waiting for and delivers a monstrous headbutt in retaliation. The brutal hit launches Jun backward, his body skidding across the hard concrete. Wiping his face with a vein popping on his forehead, Jin-ho warns him that he really messed up this time. With eyes full of hate, he claims a junior should never try to climb the food chain like that, especially when his senior valued him so much. Bleeding, the redhead just glares right back at him without blinking, keeping his hatred burning. The senior rains down relentless punches on the boy, angrily asking why he pulled that crap if he didn't even like the girl. While getting battered, Jun takes another accusation from the brute, who asks if the kid just views him as a total joke. Grabbing the redhead by the collar, Jin, who throws dozens of blows, claiming that deep down, the kid just didn't want to hand her over to someone else. Watching it all from a distance, the MC is in absolute ecstasy, thinking the scene is simply majestic. He scribbles frantically in his heart-covered notebook, celebrating that this is the absolute peak of character development. Letting out creepy laughs, the former boss declares the setup is flawless, and the main lead throwing a punch to protect the heroine is a cliché that never fails. Still cracking up, he praises the script while drawing a little stick figure of the protagonist decking the bully. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the guy swears this is the pure essence of romance, getting emotional as he admits that even in his violent old school, he never witnessed a fight with such heavy romantic tension. He keeps narrating the climax of the scene, where the hero faces an overwhelmingly stronger opponent and completely refuses to back down. Cheering the redhead on, our main character claims that now is the exact moment he needs to awaken and crush his enemies with the power of love. But the beatdown only gets worse, and the redhead is pinned against the wall, taking hit after hit without a single chance to fight back. Every punch caves his face in further, and the former boss starts sweating bullets, realizing the scene isn't going according to script. Totally lifeless, the redhead's body just slumps forward in defeat. Our MC freezes in confusion, his eyes going blank as he asks himself what the kid thinks he's doing. In shock, the new guy wonders if that kid isn't supposed to be the main character, mentally screaming at him to fight back. In the courtyard, the senior wins up for the finishing blow, ordering the junior to get up. The punch buries itself into the redhead's gut, violently launching the boy's body onto the asphalt. Staring at the blood and the redhead's total destruction, the former boss remains in deep denial, insisting Seo, Jun is supposed to be the invincible main character fueled by love, collapsed on the ground, powerless and completely wrecked. The redhead can barely keep his eyes open. The brute smiles victoriously, grabbing a chunk of scrap wood off the sidewalk and stepping closer to the boy. Looming over the defeated kid, Jin, who sadistically promises he'll deliver the message to Yi, Jin the right way. Raising the wooden plank, he swears he's going to tell the girl that Seo, Jun was just way too busy to make the date, suggesting she hang out alone with him instead. The senior's eyes brim with pure malice as he readies himself to bash the fallen kid. Jinho's grin turns downright demonic, fully prepared to shatter the poor guy once and for all. Suddenly, a black pen comes rocketing through the air straight at the giant's face. On pure instinct, he catches the pen mid-air, stopping his swing right before it connects. Startled and ticked off, the senior's eyes widen as he demands to know who the heck just threw that at him. Our MC materializes out of thin air, delivering a savage flying knee straight to the senior's chin before he can even blink. With a dead, cold expression and eyes blazing with rage, the former boss introduces himself as the freaking author of the story, here to save his script and his main romance. The senior's eyes bulge out of his skull, utterly shocked and failing to comprehend what just hit him. Glancing up, the giant tries to process why there is currently a human being floating in mid-air. The reality check finally hits, and he recognizes the guy landing right in front of him. Annoyed, the brute realizes it's the exact same nosy new kid from the nurse's office earlier today. Overtaken by a sudden burst of fury, the attacker's face contorts with hate, and he grinds his teeth hard. Giving him zero time to react, our MC steps in and unleashes a blinding flurry of straight punches right into the guy's face. With a devastating impact, the former boss buries his fist into the senior's core, crushing the breath completely out of his lungs. The sheer, brutal force of the strike sends the giant flying, skipping across the asphalt like a discarded rag doll. Skidding violently across the pavement, the attacker frantically tries to dig his heels in to regain his balance. Finally skidding to a halt, the big guy lets out a groan of pain, feeling the absurd weight of the attack he just absorbed. At that moment, one of his goons comes sprinting frantically toward the fight, screaming his fallen leader's name. Sporting a fierce look, the punk grits his teeth, ready to avenge his boss. Hurling curses, the goon charges in, only to be met with a brutal counterattack that lifts him right off his feet in an instant. The former boss thrusts his hand out in a swift, surgical strike straight to the enemy's throat. Suspended firmly in the air, the attacker gurgles in agony as the MC kicks off his little interrogation. With a death glare, the MC demands to know what this trash did to his precious Seo, Jun this time. The kid can barely breathe, letting out only muffled squeaks as he gets crushed by the new kid's ruthless grip. Cranking up the pressure, the former boss's hand digs into the guy's flesh, showing absolutely zero mercy. With a terrifying crash, the goon is slammed violently into the ground, shattering the concrete surface beneath him. Looking at the crater, our hero coldly asks if this was exactly how they were beating down the redhead. Caught off guard by the assault, the rest of the gang rushes in furious, gripping metal pipes and baseball bats. Completely unbothered by the armed threat, the guy just smiles, commenting on how much co-ed school kids love using cowards' tools. Clicking his tongue, he sighs, finding this whole situation to be a massive waste of time for his script. Dropping into a fighting stance, he flashes a smirk and announces he's pretty sure he knows exactly how to fix this problem. The courtyard instantly turns into a war zone, where the new kid absolutely dismantles the entire gang in the blink of an eye. Pinning the final thug against the wall, the MC accuses the kid of jumping in on the brutal beatdown too. The goon denies it frantically, stuttering over his words, and gets dropped to the floor, completely paralyzed by fear. Having watched the whole massacre up close, the redhead is left completely shocked by how absurdly overpowered the transfer student actually is. Seeing the new kid crack his knuckles while surrounded by broken bodies, the boy admits that from the very start, The guy's face was screaming extreme danger. Strolling calmly over to the injured kid, the former boss totally ignores the fact that the redhead is still stammering out cries for help. Kneeling next to his beaten classmate, the MC receives a very hesitant, fear-filled, "Thank you." With his eyes shining intensely, the guy ignores the heavy tension and demands to know the injured kid's name one more time. Spooked by the sudden invasion of personal space, the redhead shrinks back while the new kid frantically whips out his notepad and pen. Flashing his gear, the boy introduces himself again as Ryu Woo Jin, the future #1 romance webtoon creator in the world. Forcing a smile, the redhead nods nervously, remembering the bizarre comic artist title the guy had brought up earlier. Inside his head, the kid is having a total meltdown, trying to compute how someone who shreds bullies like paper wants to draw cute little love stories. Completely oblivious to the other guy's panic, the newbie flips open his pink heart notebook, super pumped to announce what the couple's next scene needs to be. Confused, the redhead asks out loud if the new guy seriously thinks this is going to work, given the absolute chaos around them. Locking his hands firmly onto the wrist of his story's male lead, our author prepares to force some plot development. Getting hauled off the ground, the bruised guy asks why the new kid keeps calling everything a scene, like they're shooting a movie. Pointing proudly toward the school entrance, the former boss explains that, like any good author, he already set the stage ahead of time. Totally lost in the madness, the redhead begs his classmate to explain what the heck he's trying to say with all this roleplay. In the distance, the familiar figure of the injured girl sprinting toward them instantly grabs both boys' attention. With his eyes wide as saucers, the redhead freezes completely, watching his friend crash the battlefield out of nowhere. Lurking in the shadows, our MC flashes a diabolical, deeply satisfied grin, seeing his romantic masterpiece finally coming to life. Standing before the breathless heroine, the new kid triumphantly declares that the time for the grand love confession has finally arrived. Giving his classmate a little shove on the back, the author tells the male lead to go out there and spill all his hidden feelings. Beat red with embarrassment, the redhead screams in panic, unable to believe the sheer audacity of this meddling new kid. Amid his freak out, he demands to know who came up with this crazy confession idea and asks why the heck she showed up right here, right now. Smooth as can be, the former boss thinks back to the exact moment he dived off the school roof like a literal stunt double. During his freefall, he explains, he chucked a folded paper note straight through her classroom window. Striking a confident sniper pose, he reveals the contents of his successfully delivered secret intel. The flashback shows the girl jumping out of her skin when the paper wad nailed her desk in the dead silent room. The dramatic message warned her that her beloved Seo Jun was in mortal danger and told her to sprint to the back of the school immediately. Staring at his classmate with a deadpan look, the redhead asks if he is even a normal human being, getting a simple nod in return. Falling right back into a panic, the guy insists loudly that they're just friends and asks how many times he has to repeat that same excuse. His face dropping instantly, the new kid asks if it was for such a useless friendship that he decided to take a beating from a monster he couldn't beat. Shooting him a piercing glare, the former boss makes it crystal clear he knows full well this platonic garbage is a straight-up lie. Determined to fix the script, the guy announces he's about to drop some small, priceless life advice for his cowardly protagonist. Standing tall, he states that someone who can't even be honest with their own feelings doesn't have the right to protect absolutely anyone. Left completely speechless, the redhead hangs his head, feeling the crushing weight of that truth pierce right through his pride. Accepting defeat, the boy mutters that he knows that all too well and confesses he doesn't want to keep lying to himself anymore. Frustrated, he vents that if he makes one wrong move and ruins their current friendship, nobody is going to take responsibility for that emotional disaster. Raising his voice, the kid yells at the newbie, claiming that sometimes a harsh lie is the only lifeline you have to keep from losing the person you love. Pouring out his frustration, he asks what a brand new student thinks he knows about his life, right as the girl tackles him by surprise. During the newcomer's shove, the former boss thinks with disappointment that this wasn't the romantic panel he sketched out, while the girl screams at the redhead for his suicidal stunt against the senior. With tears in her eyes, the girl accuses her friend of picking a death-wish fight just to play the protective hero again. Hiding her face in her beloved's jacket, the girl sobs, confessing she thought the brute was just hitting on her with no real danger. Gripping the fabric tight, she lets all her absolute terror show. The terror she felt when she heard the redhead was getting beaten to a pulp. A painful memory bubbles up, where the isolated girl wonders if this suffocating overprotectiveness is just him paying off a debt because of her late father. The flashback shows her dad patting the little redhead's head, asking him to take care of his precious daughter for the rest of his life. Back in the present, the girl's hot tears stain the bleeding boy's clothes as he stays trapped in a painful silence. Heartbroken, the redhead tries to piece together an answer, quickly denying that his motivation is just fulfilling some old promise. Cutting off his stuttered excuse, The girl lifts her tear-stained face and screams out all her bottled-up anguish at the top of her lungs. Kneeling over her friend's wrecked body on the asphalt, the girl cries out desperately that she never wanted him to get nearly killed, just trying to save her. Still sobbing, the brunette lets her tears fall right onto her friend's bruised face. Shocked by the girl's emotional outburst, the redhead's eyes go wide, unable to process what is happening. With a look of deep sorrow and pure affection, she openly confesses that she wants to protect him simply because she likes him. Tears stream down the heroine's face while the guy lets out a murmur of total confusion. Utterly stunned and bug-eyed, the boy asks what she just said. Trying to rationalize the situation, the kid stammers that she must mean she likes him, just as a really good friend. At that exact moment, our MC's harsh lesson echoes in the boy's mind, reminding him that someone who lies to themselves can't protect anyone. The redhead's gaze shifts drastically as he finally accepts the truth he's been hiding for so long. Bathed in a warm glow, the male lead finally confesses that he likes her too, way more than just as a friend. Lying on the asphalt and looking up at the sky, the guy admits he's felt this way about her for a long time. With a soft tone, he apologizes for never being able to see her as just a simple childhood friend. Overwhelmed with emotion under the sunlight, the girl cries tears of relief, telling him he has no idea how much she wanted to hear those words. The bruised guy feels her grip his jacket tight and thinks to himself that he's definitely going to have to thank the transfer student later. The heroine buries her face in her beloved's chest, letting all the tension and fear melt away in that warm embrace. Bathed in a purely romantic vibe, the two finally understand each other after so many trials and fears. Laughing through her tears, the girl wipes her face and calls her guy a dummy for taking so long to figure it out. Flashing a radiant, lovesick smile, the heroine reveals her biggest wish was to be the first one to say, "I love you." Caught completely off guard, the redhead yells in confusion, unable to believe the sheer courage and cuteness of his new girlfriend. Totally flustered, the guy shrinks his shoulders and shyly asks if this means they're officially dating now. Before he can even answer, a massive explosion of pure emotion and fire cuts through the scene, with our MC screaming the word, "Romantius," at the top of his lungs. Startled by the racket, the new couple turns their heads and comes face to face with the former boss, who is radiating a fiery aura of pure ecstasy. The emotional impact was so huge that the story's author literally drops dead to the floor, twitching and muttering about how absolutely perfect that was. Worried about the new kid's bizarre meltdown, the two rush over, asking what on earth is wrong with him. Crawling on the ground like a zombie, our MC smiles creepily, absolutely certain that transferring schools was the greatest choice he ever made in his life. A little while later, the scene cuts straight to the doors of the school clinic. Inside, the nurse is sipping her coffee in peace, thinking she'll finally get a quiet moment on her shift. That peace is instantly ruined when the door gets violently kicked open, making the woman do a spit, take out of pure shock. Cuffing, the medic recognizes the redhead and immediately asks if the ankle girl got hurt again. In full panic mode, the boy runs in carrying our MC princess style, screaming that his classmate is badly hurt, while the woman wonders what the heck these kids do all day. Completely chilled out in his buddy's arms, the new kid makes a mental note of his sixth romantic rule, concluding that being carried like a princess is actually insanely comfortable. While the chaos continues at the co-ed school, the narrative pulls us back to the violent, lawless Dupel High. Right on the third floor of the building, a student gets brutally chucked out a window, shattering the glass into a million pieces. Down in the courtyard, a brunette kid runs frantically, yelling for his silver-haired classmate named Li Ru Da, reminding him he literally just got discharged from the hospital. The messenger bursts into a room, warning a muscular guy that they've got a massive problem on their hands. The buff dude just keeps curling his dumbbells, replying with a bored tone that the whole school already knows the big boss transferred. Panting, the kid explains that every single student tried to jump the former boss at once, and they still got completely slaughtered. The boy recalls the bloodbath, pointing out that Ru missed the final showdown because he was stuck in the hospital with 2 broken arms. Without pausing his workout, the meth head argues that even if their buddy had been there, the ass kicking would have ended the exact same way. With a dead serious look, the blonde guy disagrees, warning them that the real issue here is something else entirely. The messenger states with total conviction that our MC only requested a transfer specifically because the silver-haired guy was hospitalized and couldn't stop him. Hearing that ridiculous theory, the kid fresh out of the hospital breaks into a twisted, wildly arrogant smirk. Shaking with excitement, the silver-haired Ru screams to the heavens that Ryu Wu Jin ran away because he was scared to death of him. The panel shifts to a bright blue sky, announcing that April has finally arrived, bringing spring with it. The harsh winter cold fades away, giving way to beautiful cherry blossoms blooming all across the city. Thanks to this amazing weather change, this time of year is considered the ultimate season for couples to start dating. On the busy streets beneath the cherry trees, dozens of couples stroll hand in hand, soaking up the season's romantic vibe. Lurking in the shadows, our MC flashes a creepy smile as he stalks the romantic prey surrounding him. Crouched on a metal grate, the former boss clutches his pink notebook, hyping himself up over the massive amount of top-tier material gathered here. With an analytical glare, he watches the fresh April couples creeping out of their holes to enjoy the flower festivals. The guy's focus locks onto a cute couple sitting on a bench, where the girl asks her boyfriend to open wide. The girlfriend giggles, totally in love while feeding the guy, mentioning they've only been officially dating for 2 hours. Absolutely stoked by the scene, the aspiring webtoon author cheers internally at seeing the classic cliché of a boyfriend being spoon-fed. With his pen flying across the paper, he furiously jots down that feeding your partner is an off-the-charts level of sweetness. Creeped out by his bizarre presence, the girl whispers to her boyfriend that some weirdo has been staring at them for a while now. The boyfriend tries to calm her down with a confident smile, claiming the dude is just some high school delinquent ditching class. Wanting to show off, the boyfriend tells his girl to hang tight for a sec while he goes handle the creep. Strutting over to the fence, the guy walks right up to our MC, who is still completely zoned in on his notes. In a pissed-off, authoritative tone, the boyfriend crosses his arms and demands to know if the new kid has a problem with them. Looking up, the former boss analyzes the dude's stance and figures he's got the clear vibe of a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Far from intimidated, the kid just smiles, deciding to take advantage of his research material, walking right up to him to conduct a quick interview. Without his face changing one bit, the MC throws a monstrous punch straight into the ground right next to the guy's feet, casually warning him not to get hurt. The brutal impact craters the solid concrete, while the former boss casually complains that the mosquitoes are already coming out in April. Sweating bullets and absolutely terrified, the boyfriend gulps, instantly realizing the inhuman strength of the monster standing in front of him. Flipping his attitude in a heartbeat, the guy backs up with a weak, awkward smile, apologizing for the interruption. Trying to keep the interaction going, our author pulls out a fat stack of cash, offering to pay for the interview. Cash in hand, the kid asks to throw a few romance-related questions his way, but the boyfriend goes into full-blown panic mode. The boyfriend bolts down the street in pure terror, completely abandoning his own girlfriend in the middle of the sidewalk while she screams at him for being a coward. Watching the pathetic display, the former boss goes blank, realizing he just single-handedly ruined a 2-hour-old relationship. A small, awkward smile pops up on his face as he notices the sheer scale of the mess he just made. Walking away frustrated with his hands in his pockets, he admits he lost control of his own strength by accident, and promises to be more careful next time. In the background, the cowardly ex-boyfriend is still on the ground begging for forgiveness, while the girl completely ignores him. The cash left tossed on the bench proves that today's field research was an absolute failure. The scene quickly cuts back to the school grounds under the blazing afternoon sun. On the dirt field, a soccer ball zips around during a heated match between the students. Locked into the game, Co. Jun the redhead pushes forward with the ball while his brand new girlfriend screams from the bleachers, cheering her guy on. Deep in the zone, the boy fires off a massive shot, sending the ball rocketing straight for the goalie's net. The ball hits the back of the net with a thud, securing the goal as the crowd on the sidelines goes wild. Hyped by the flawless play, the kid celebrates, praising his own picture, perfect curveball, and hyping up the impossible trajectory. At midfield, the redhead tugs at his jersey, feeling like his performance today is just completely off the charts. Overcome with hype, he rips his shirt over his head, screaming out a passionate love declaration to Jin right in front of everyone. Up in the stands, the girl can't handle the cheesy gesture and cracks up from sheer embarrassment, while our MC watches in awe, deeming the whole thing highly romantic. Watching from the sidelines, the former boss jots down in his notebook that using a goal celebration to express your love is some absolute top-tier material. Walking down the halls together, the girl sighs, asking if he seriously just rolled up to school at this time of day. Glancing out the window at the kids running around, she wonders out loud if things are really okay with the gang leader situation. She mentions feeling relieved that the brute hasn't shown his face at school since that day, but genuinely expresses her concern for the former boss's safety. With zero patience for drama, the guy waves off her worries, promising he can easily handle everything on his own if it comes to it. With a tiny smile, he tells the girl to just focus on staying happy with her boyfriend, saying that's the biggest help she can give his research. The two walk in silence for a brief moment, soaking in the sudden peace that settled over the school. Out of nowhere, a soccer ball flies in like a meteor and nails our MC right in the head with a deafening smack. From across the courtyard, the furious redhead screams at the former boss, ordering him to stop flirting with his girlfriend right this second. Shrugging off the threat, The new kid just chuckles at how mad her boyfriend looks and says he'll be taking off now. Halfway down the path, the guy stops dead in his tracks, suddenly remembering a super important errand he needed to run today. Spinning back around to the girl, he looks at her dead in the eye and asks if she has any clue where Mai Nai has been hiding. Inside the janitor's closet, the blonde carefully adjusts a ring light and mounts her phone on a tripod, complaining about how long the timer takes. With the camera rolling, she straightens her tie and jumps into her TikTok dance, happily grooving to the beat. Focused on getting the perfect clip, the girl tries to strike a cute pose for her followers, pouring on the charm. The closet door suddenly flies open, and the protagonist's massive head pops in from the background, demanding to know what she's doing. Completely terrified by the jump scare, the blonde screams, asking how the heck he managed to find her in her secret hideout. Snatching her phone, she frantically stops the recording and asks if he's just here to collect on that promise to introduce him to new romance sources. Trying to squirm out of it, she argues that he's already gathering plenty of material from the new couple and swears that should be more than enough. Sighing nervously, she looks down, admitting she promised to help but confessing she's too scared to follow through. In a sad, genuine voice, she recalls that at first, she only listened to Kang Ji Ho because she was terrified of becoming the gang's next bullying target. Clutching her phone to her chest, she talks about the nightmare memories of the threats and beatdowns led by the silver-haired boss that left her paralyzed. Looking away, the girl warns that hanging out with a violent new kid will be super dangerous for her future if she wants to make it as an influencer. Tugging at her tie nervously, the blonde confesses she doesn't have the guts to snitch on the gang to the teachers, making her totally useless to him anyway. Walking away from the guy, the girl mutters that she's just gonna make up some lame excuse to get out of helping him. But in her desperate rush to escape, she slips hard and goes plummeting toward the solid floor. In the blink of an eye, our MC materializes out of nowhere and catches the girl by the arm with freakish agility. Still shaken from the near-fatal fall, the girl hears her classmate's calm voice asking if she's okay. Yanking herself away, she awkwardly smooths out her uniform, apologizing for completely spacing out. Flashing a gentle smile, the guy mutters a surprised compliment, calling her a genuinely wonderful person, which leaves her totally frozen. The blonde's eyes go wide with shock, failing to compute why a crazy tough guy would suddenly say something like that to her. Sitting calmly on the school stairs, the former boss simply thanks her for actually caring about him, stating that's more than enough. Highly confused and flustered, the girl lowers her head, trying to decode whatever hidden agenda this weirdo might have. Bathed in the evening light, the new kid cracks open his precious notebook, his eyes gleaming with total fascination. In a sudden fit of mania, the boy bares his creepy teeth, giggling to himself as he realizes that her life falling apart just by associating with him is the absolute best script ever. His twisted brain starts cooking up a dramatic comic panel where the heroine loses everything because of the troubled male lead, viewing it as the ultimate romantic climax. Totally oblivious to the crazy movie playing in his head, the girl blinks, having zero clue how to react to her classmate's little joyride on the stairs. Staring out the window at the scenery, our author feels the breeze, completely ignoring the girl's awkward tension. Baffled, the blonde watches the frozen guy, weakly asking why he isn't scribbling this deeply emotional scene into his precious notebook. Deciding to stick to his own path, the newbie simply ignores his classmate's question and turns his back to the blonde on the stairs. Stretching his arms lazily, he remarks out loud that he'd better finally head to class for the first time today. Shocked, the short-haired girl Jin acts outraged, asking if he's seriously admitting he hasn't been to a single class all day. Chuckling sarcastically, the girl points out that this totally explains why she barely ever runs into him in the hallways. The couple is stunned, asking why a brand new student would just blatantly skip class like that. Deep in thought, the MC thinks back to his hellish routine at his old school, admitting he'd already developed the terrible habit of ditching classes. With a blank, sharp gaze, the guy casually mentions that Dupel High wasn't exactly the kind of place where you sit down and learn normal subjects. In a quick flash, he pictures the massive dudes brawling in the halls, stating that where he came from, violence ruled everything and the rules were written in pure aggression. Faced with that heavy trauma dump, the couple laughs awkwardly, trying to break the icy tension left by the new kid's dark words. Flashing an amused smile, the girl suggests that classrooms are actually incredible stages for romance, bringing up tropes like passing secret notes behind the teacher's back or flirting while sharing an eraser. Instantly, the author visualizes a couple timidly reaching for the same eraser, silently cheering for the classic romantic cliché of sharing school supplies. Capitalizing on his hype, Jin teases him, asking if he's really going to let all that prime cliché material slip away just because he wants to skip class. Fueled by an absurd level of determination, the flames of inspiration burn in the new kid's eyes as he yells that he will now attend classes with everything he's got. Smiling with a radiant aura, the former boss thanks her for the priceless advice, leaving the girl blown away by his sudden 180. Riding a wave of nostalgic energy, the MC gets hyped, claiming his blood hasn't boiled like this in a long time, as he imagines all the spectacular glitches a co-ed classroom has to offer. Gripping a solid wooden rod, the imposing figure of the school teacher readies himself for the afternoon punishment. A student is forced to bend over, taking heavy whacks to the back from the teacher, who is feared by everyone in the room. The scene cuts to the noisy classroom, where the students are waiting for the physical punishment to resume right in the middle of a regular period. Slumped upside down over his desk and bored out of his mind, our MC quietly asks what subject they're even in right now. Whispers ripple through the room as one kid checks the schedule, frantically asking if the next period is that god-awful chemistry class nobody can stand. Taking advantage of the panic, some slick student slides a notebook over, trying to bribe a classmate with $5 to let him copy the notes real quick. The front door swings open, revealing the silhouette of the old, long-haired teacher who steps inside, ordering everyone to sit down and shut their mouths. Revealing his harsh, scarred face, the teacher introduces himself with a terrifying stance. The old man bitterly recounts how, ever since he was a kid, he was the target of mockery and stupid jokes just because of his unfortunate name. With eyes full of pent-up violence, he proudly confesses he punched the lights out of every single punk who dared to laugh at his sacred name during his high school years. A dark flashback shows the teacher's past, mercilessly crushing his peers, proving how his reputation as an invincible brawler was born in that cruel era of unchecked violence. However, while weathering that storm of blood, he crossed paths with a very special person who changed everything. The master's past shines brightly when a wise educator pulled him aside, recognizing that the punk actually possessed a massive, hidden talent for science. That same kind teacher helped him walk the right path, with the minor catch that he had to beat the delinquent kid to a pulp before he could convince him. Sporting a peaceful smile in his graduation photo, the old man wraps up by saying that thanks to that legendary encounter, he managed to leave his criminal life behind to embrace his true calling as a high school teacher. Squeezing his old wooden club, the teacher reflects on his former master's wise advice, always telling him to guide the rebellious kids. Adopting that as his life motto, he enforces strict discipline, dishing out physical punishment and demanding the class learn the hard way. Proud of his violent methods, he reminisces about how even the feared Kangjai, Ho tried to test him early on but was painfully guided back onto the right track. The master brags, stating that at least in his classroom, nonsense isn't tolerated and no bully dares to raise their voice. Suddenly, the dead silence of the room is shattered by the sound of the door sliding open. Staring at the door, the silver-haired G, who goes into shock, seeing that the person who just walked in is none other than the psycho transfer student. Fearing for his actual life, the gang leader mentally hides, complaining that he thought the new kid had already fled the school after their brutal brawl a few days ago. Completely clueless to the danger, the other students just whisper about the transfer kid who skipped class and decided to show up right in the terrifying Yasuo's period. Noticing the kid walking toward him, the teacher grips his punishment stick tight, finding the perfect excuse to discipline another punk who disrespects the school. Raising his hand in a chill greeting, the MC drops a totally random Japanese phrase, asking for some sukiyaki please. Cracking up at the spectacle, his classmates burst into laughter, mocking him for trying to act like a comedian by ordering food in the middle of class. Annoyed and losing patience, the teacher loses his mind, angrily asking why the kid is acting like an exchange student, using the completely wrong language. Laughing like a maniac in the back, the silver-haired boss celebrates internally, knowing the crazy newbie just messed with the wrong teacher and is about to get destroyed. In a furious, threatening tone, the educator demands silence, telling the whole class to shut up, and orders the transfer student to bend over the desk for his beating. Showing zero remorse, the MC just scratches the back of his neck, surprised to find that co-ed school rules are actually pretty hardcore too. While leaning over the desk waiting for the inevitable, the guy lifts his head and notices the master's supposed wooden sword has a very weird shape and smell. Embarrassed by the discovery, the teacher tries to hide the truth about his weapon, but the student instantly calls out that this hard stick is actually a giant piece of dried katsuobushi. Exploding with embarrassment, the old educator smacks the chunk of fish against the chalkboard, telling the nosy brat to shut his mouth once and for all. In a menacing voice, the master claims that specific piece is super-aged, imported katsuobushi, carved by a true Japanese artisan, making the punishment even more brutal. Not taking the threat seriously at all, the former boss sighs, thinking this is absolute insanity, knowing full well a piece of fish could barely scratch his hard skull. Taking a deep breath, the old man lets the anger pass and asks with fake calmness if the reason the kid skips class because he's used to some special learning environment, like homeschooling. Determined to prove his point, the teacher points to the massive chemistry equations covering the chalkboard and challenges the kid, claiming he should be able to solve something this basic. With a sadistic glint behind his glasses, he warns that this placement test will be nothing but a tool to humiliate the transfer, exposing whether he's an idiot or not. Chuckling under his breath, the professor internally confesses his cruel tactic, explaining that for thugs like this, mental anguish hurts way more than the physical beatings they're already used to. Certain that the giant equation is impossible for the boy, the old man rejoices, knowing his plan to expose the delinquent stupidity in front of the whole class will permanently obliterate his pride. Shattering every evil expectation, the kid casually tosses the chalk onto the desk and says he already finished the math without breaking a sweat, pointing out the exact answer and leaving the teacher dumbfounded. Irritated, the master grumbles that sometimes punks can be good at studying if they had a solid foundation before turning to crime, making up excuses for the kid's quick victory. But his thirst to humiliate the boy doesn't die there, and the master rapid fires increasingly long and twisted equations onto the board, swearing there's no way the kid gets this one. Focused on breaking the teacher's spirit, the MC fills the chalkboard, erasing, rewriting, and deducing everything in the blink of an eye, while casually saying he's done with that one too. Refusing to back down, the educator fills almost the entire board, demanding answers while the students watch in terror, but the guy just solves the formula in his head and drops the answer with a cocky tone. Defeated and dropping to his knees, the professor slams his hand in frustration, unable to comprehend how a meaty-head thug is this good at advanced chemistry. Curious about the overreaction, the MC dusts the chalk off his hands and casually mentions he learned this basic stuff back in middle school just because he had nothing better to do. Satisfied with the school vibe and feeling the classroom energy, the boy flashes a warm smile at the master, genuinely thanking him for the inspiring interaction. He mentally cheers, noting that taking an academic test in front of the whole class served as an awesome premise, and decides to kick off his field research right here. Raising his hand like a model student, he asks for the teacher's attention to move forward. From the back of the room, a purple-haired kid stands up with a mocking laugh, telling them to quit messing around and get back to the official syllabus. The newbie quickly scribbles in his notepad, amazed by yet another cliché happening right before his eyes, noting that a smart, arrogant class rep who hates delinquents has just joined the cast. Crumbling on the inside, the educator snaps to reality and lets out a laugh of pure disbelief, realizing that instead of humiliating the student, he became the class joke during his famous pedagogical lecture. With the evening painting the school in twilight, the scene cuts to the deserted courtyard. Out there, the teacher sits in frustration, noting that nowadays, handing out physical punishment to delinquents is complicated, and finding other methods is just a pain. Taking a sip of his tea, he agrees with his own thoughts, admitting that using academics as a punishment failed miserably too, leaving him with only one drastic option. With a serious glare, the old man steps up to the classroom door, recalling the name of the kid who wrecked his brilliant plan. Totally unbothered by the educator's tension, the guy casually turns around with his backpack on, waiting to be dismissed after the final bell. Fury takes over the master once again as he glares at him with crazed eyes, forcing the kid to stay behind after hours. With the threat hanging in the air, the educator whips out the dried fish, claiming he's going to beat the crap out of the kid in secret since he couldn't do it in front of the class. The MC is forced to walk to the center of the courtyard, where the teacher corners him, brandishing the menacing katsuobushi in the middle of the empty grounds. Sporting a face of pure boredom, the kid admits he skipped a few classes earlier, but promises he'll have zero issues catching up on the missed work by himself. Losing his temper completely, the teacher attacks with everything he's got, swinging the hard wooden like chunk down at the boy. Ducking with the agility of a cat, the kid perfectly dodges the strike, stating matter of factly that corporal punishment is strictly forbidden on school grounds. Eyeing the dried fish, the MC mocks the educator's weapon, asking what kind of corporal punishment he's even talking about since that thing isn't even a real stick. Showing total disregard for the furious assault, the former boss crosses his arms, pointing out that this rigid club is just seasoned food, proving his point and telling the teacher to stop wasting perfectly good ingredients. Trying to gather himself, the teacher drops his guard, faking a sympathetic sigh and confessing that back in his wild youth, he was a problem child just like the kid standing before him. Using a somewhat paternal tone, he speaks softly, blatantly lying as he says it isn't the boy's fault and that every troubled youth just needs a firm master to guide their misguided actions. High on his own lie, the old man yells euphorically, gripping his club again and declaring that he will be the pillar of salvation to purify the student's corrupted mind with the true rod of unconditional love. An overwhelming flurry of katsuobushi strikes rains down on the boy, forcing him to block non-stop while sparks literally fly from the heavy force packed into each swing. Surprised, the master praises the kid's durability, noting that a normal student would have had their bones pulverized by those hits. Realizing the transfer is way tougher than your average street punk, the old man clenches his jaw, deeply intrigued. His eyes widen as he steps back, remembering what he read in that problem child's school record earlier, and wondering if he should actually believe it. Upping the tempo, he breaks into a cold sweat and unleashes another violent combo, giving the kid zero time to breathe. During a brief pause in the onslaught, the air grows heavy as the boy and the teacher stare each other down, sizing up their strength. Gulping hard, the MC starts sweating, suspecting that somehow his old school's reputation might have leaked to the teachers at Danyang. On the flip side, the teacher twitches his mustache, recalling how he tried to pull the kid's academic record, but the file came back full of holes and intentional redactions. The memory flashes, showing the previous school's name on the paperwork, brutally scribbled out, as if someone was desperately trying to wipe away any evidence it existed. Knowing he wasn't the one who altered it and suspicious of the amateur cover up, the old man glares at the boy, firmly demanding to know what the heck he's hiding about his past. Looking lethal, the master aims the sharp tip of his Katsuobushi club dead at the kid's face, daring him to spill everything right now if he doesn't want things to spiral out of control. Suddenly, the old man's terrifying expression vanishes, replaced by sheer bewilderment when he notices a huge chunk of his beloved club's tip has simply vanished into thin air. With bug-out eyes, he looks down, wondering where the hell his $300 tip went, scanning the entire courtyard for it. Right in front of him, the former boss's hand slowly opens, revealing seasoned wood crumbs slipping through his fingers as the young man smiles, trying to hide his guilt. Freaked out, the old man tries to find the right words, but the punk just dusts off his hands with a friendly smile, admitting he lost control of his grip strength, and guessing the club must have just disintegrated in the wind. Absolutely horrified, the teacher realizes this psycho kid reduced his rock, hard-imported weapon to dust using nothing but his bare hands in a freakish display of brute force. Feeling sweat roll down his face, the educator concludes this new student is an extreme threat, not just to his authority, but to the entire peaceful foundation of Danyang High. In his terrified imagination, the master envisions his beloved co-ed school turning into an exact clone of a criminal den, with graffiti, covered walls, and trash everywhere, mirroring the absolute disaster he already knows too well. With his fists clenched in rage, he screams a promise that he will never let some transfer punk plunge his sanctuary into a bottomless pit filled with the absolute worst scum. The old man shouts with a mix of fear and resentment, saying he's lived this nightmare before where the high school was just a direct recruiting ground for mob factions, and vows that will never happen again on his watch. Determined to stop the school's destruction and ready to sacrifice his own job if he has to, the chemistry teacher takes his stance, swearing to end Ryu Jin right here, right now. The teacher's lethal charge is brutally intercepted by a colossal punch from the former boss, straight to the master's gut. The impact wipes the floor with the old man, sending him crashing down in agony, while the kid casually asks if he got hurt too badly, and if they should hit the nurse's office. Coughing weakly on the ground, the professor curses the student with his eyes, asking with a cracked voice if the punk came to this co-ed school for the sole purpose of brewing up a massive storm of violence. Sprawled on his stomach, the educator breathes heavily, bracing himself for the cruel, villainous response from the crime psycho, who just nearly crushed him. But the MC just blinks in confusion, casually admitting that he actually only transferred to Danyang High because he needed to hunt for authentic romance materials. The professor blinks in shock, unable to believe the utterly stupid words that just came out of this brutal delinquent's mouth. Struggling to get up, the old man demands an explanation, asking what the hell he means by that. Sporting a bright, warm smile under the setting sun, the boy puffs out his chest and declares that his ultimate life dream is to become a globally successful romance webtoon artist. Shocked, the master stares at his student and realizes that behind that idiotic smile, the kid's eyes are shining with an innocent, completely genuine determination. Blown away, the old man thinks to himself that those eyes definitely aren't lying, but he still can't comprehend what kind of teenage freak of nature he's dealing with. Fully accepting his total defeat and the new kid's insanity, the educator lets out one last grumble and shuts his exhausted eyes. The orange evening light bathes the empty courtyard, signaling the end of the great battle for school discipline as the old man's body slumps to the side, totally drained. Letting out a long sigh, the master finally passes out from exhaustion after all that pointless stress over a threat that didn't even exist. Looking around, the boy scratches his neck and smiles, noting it's been a hot minute since he had to throw hands with a teacher, bringing back some fond memories of his violently chaotic old life at Dupal High. Dusting off his clothes, he adjusts his backpack and strolls toward the school exit, casually wondering if the guys back at Dupal are doing alright without his intimidating presence keeping them in check. Walking down the quiet school hallway in the late afternoon, The boy's peace is shattered by a voice saying they finally found him. Breaking into a cold sweat with his eyes wide open, the MC freezes dead in his tracks upon hearing that unmistakable voice respectfully call him senpai. Standing high up on the railing, the silver-haired Li Ru flashes a diabolical, arrogant smirk, crossing his arms and stating it's been way too long, confirming the former boss's worst living nightmare.